Boom! How's it going? Welcome. It is ITJ, Taurai Jack, and welcome to M5 Property Addicts channel, where we talk anything and everything around real estate. And predominantly, I enjoy talking about passive income. Why passive income? Passive income through property. There are many doors to financial freedom, but I like the one that is given to us by property. And today in this video, I am going to talk about my one cash cow that I literally sold off. But let's jump into the video and find out why I had to sell my cash cow. Boom! And I've spoken about this property for, I don't know, for such a long time. And eventually, we sold the property. Well, if you've never been here before, boom, how's it going? My name is Taurai Jack. Like I did mention, but I just wanted to introduce myself more formally. But you've never been here before. On this channel here, we talk everything around property. And you can catch us, and there's so many valuable information that you can get on here. And if you're one of those people who are enjoying it and you've never subscribed, you need to subscribe. Okay, actually this is the time that you need to subscribe. Hit that button, smash it, and don't forget to leave your comments right at the end so that we can engage. But let's jump into the discussion of today. You remember back in the days, and I'm saying remember because I know that you've been watching some of our videos, right? So if you haven't been, where have you been? Well, you are here now. That's all that matters. So there is this particular two-bed, one bath that I bought back in the days. And this two-bed, one bath, I bought it. It was kind of like my first property that I bought. First property in terms of investment, all right? And I bought it in the back of the days, and it was such a steal. And I just want to give you a bit of background around this deal so that you have a good understanding. But I also want to explain to you why I sold off this property. It was a cash cow. What do I mean by a cash cow? It's a property that's giving me massive money whilst I'm just chilling. Right? So what is the massive money that we're talking about here? When a two-bed, one bath of 500, at a value of 500,000, it was giving me passive income of 2,000 Rand. Why would I sell such a property? Yeah, let's break it down. Okay, good stuff. It is extremely impossible for most people, and I just want to say this out. I know for a fact that it is extremely possible to find these such kind of deals, but this is what I do now for a living. But at the back of the days when I found this property, I wasn't taking this thing seriously of investing in property. So I had found this two-bed, one bath, and it was in a distressed environment. I found it, I'm around here in Johannesburg. I do business in the company M5 Property Addicts. And so whilst I am here in Johannesburg, there are certain areas obviously where you can find some of these properties. And you could be asking yourself where are some of these or those areas. If that's your question, drop it in the comments. But as I go along, right, this particular property, I found it in an area called Kempton Park. Let's speak about Kempton Park as an area. It's an old suburb, and out of being it an old suburb, it's got its own little town, and it's a growing town as it is. And it's got a huge impact next door to it because it's got the international airport for the whole country, right? OR Tambo, as we all know it. It is just next door to Kempton Park. So which presents itself another opportunity because you've got lots of people that work at the airport who need accommodation. So where could they be staying? You all know that people want to be working very close, some maybe at a walking distance, or potentially somewhere they will have one taxi, or somewhere they work where they're not going to be driving like hours and hours at end to get to work. It's a cool neighborhood. I like it. It's a mix of blocks of flats in and around the town. And out around the town, it's got nice houses like suburban style, you know, big yards, swimming pools, and things like that. But I bought my 2-bed, 1-bath right in the heart of town. Why did I buy it? I actually enjoyed this project. I saw it on the market for around about 390, and I went in and I bought it, and I eventually bought it for 160,000. Yep. I know you're asking yourself, 160,000. Deb, yes, 160,000. I bought it for 160,000. Why? Because I negotiated with the seller. It so happened that the seller actually had about 4 or 5 other units that I eventually also bought, right? But I want to speak about how much cash flow was I actually getting out of this property, right? And I speak about this property for many a times. I've written a book called From Bed Dead to Property Mogul. That property is in this book here. So if you follow me quite nicely, I'm just short of telling you that I bought it in this building. I've given so much description around it, but I want to speak to the point of why did I sell the cash cow? So let's go back. I bought it for 160. I put in an additional 50,000 on it. So which means that in all, I was all in now for 210, right? So you follow my maths there, it was all in for 210. Over and above that, with a 1,000 rand expense, rates and taxes together with levies, it came up to 1,000 rand. And the property, I went in, I did some work over the weekend. So we bought it. And after I bought it, and then over the weekend, when we got to transfer, I literally moved in on like a Thursday. The Friday I was there with my boys in terms of doing the renovations. By Monday, Tuesday, we were done. New kitchen, new bathing room. I changed the bath into a shower. I put in new cupboards into the kitchen. I put in a new stove. I painted the whole thing. It was nice. You couldn't recognize it from the time we were in, and but it was literally like a marathon of kind of like a 16-hour day for the last weekend, and I enjoyed that. And yeah, but you can see now that when I put it onto the market, I rented it out for 15,000, for not 15,000. I rented it out for 5,000 rand. So if you take your 5,000 rand and you take an assumption there, we take off the 1,000, which is your rates and taxes, together with your levies, which means that you're left with around about 4 grand. And if you take an assumption of, you know, where we are interest rates now, even whether you've bonded it or not bonded it, you know, you could see that your cash flow, your profit was on the plus 2,000 rand, right? The plus 2,000 rand. So I'm now renting this place out. The first thing that I realize is that in this particular area, for 2-bed, 1-bath, like before I even finished the renovation, I had like 6, 7 people that were knocking on my door saying that, can we rent? So I realized that there was lots of demand. That I realized. As a newbie, I was like, yes, this is a happy spot for me. Because obviously, if you buy something and then immediately people are wanting it, so if the demand is great, so that means that I can go and buy more. That was where my thinking is. But with that, I also realized that the moment I am going to have a tenant in there, I'm going to cash flow, and that was easy. I figured out that, well, I don't want to manage this property. Let me pass it on to someone else to manage it, because I was looking for 100% passive income. And I did that. I got an estate agent in the area. I gave them the 4 or 5 people that had knocked on my doors. They vetted some of them, and then eventually, exactly by month end of that month, we had a tenant who moved in. They paid deposit, and they were paying me rent. Okay, so if you look at it from a beginner perspective, wow, this is a dream. This is a dream. Who wouldn't want to be in such kind of an environment where you get the deal, you're getting it at a good price, you renovate it, the renovation goes smooth, and whilst you're still renovating, there is demand of your unit. Who wouldn't want to do that? So from an from a beginning perspective, you know, I always say to people, you can literally cut, paste, take it, and boom, paste it somewhere else in whatever area. You can exactly do this. But from a beginner perspective, it is awesome. It is awesome. You are in the money with no bruises, nothing like that. So you are already, you know, learning. But what did I learn in that process? I did another video about what I learned from my first property deal, and you need to see that video. But I'm just talking here about, you know, this 2-bed 1-bath. Why did I sell it? Why did I sell it? Number one, we are seeing the demand in the area. Number two, we're seeing that it's easy to manage. Number three, as a beginner, I am smooth sailing here. I'm smooth sailing. And I also realized that, you know, in terms of bonding the actual property, this was like a no-brainer. You know, we looked at the body corporate financials, they were good, and we went to the bank, and then the bank was able to give us some money. So the banks liked us, right? So it was happy. But on the other hand, this is the actual reason why I really sold this property. You know, this was good from a beginner perspective. This was good from a beginner perspective. I was thinking that, you know, I'm always talking about, hey, I used to be working, being employed formally, and I'm always saying that, let's imagine that I was earning 1 million rand and I was taking home 50 grand. I'm always saying that, right? Because I wanted to sink home a little bit. So if I was wanting to replace my salary, which meant that I have 50,000, right? But on this deal here, my first deal, I am cash flowing 2 grand. So which meant that if I wanted to actually exit out of my employment, or I want to leave my job, I needed to buy 25 of these 2-beds 1-bath, exactly like this. Well, that's a big number, 25. But the good thing is that I have started, right? So having looked at that, I said to myself, could there be a different way? But the good thing was that with this particular seller, they had 3 others, and those 3 others, I also bought them. So guess what? Out of my 25 deals, I was kind of like, if we take an assumption that all of them, I bought them almost at the same prices, or I was cash flowing the same amount, it basically means that I am getting closer to my goal. But am I supposed to be buying 25 all of this in 1 year? Not necessarily so. I could be buying all the 25, maybe in a period of 5 years or something like that. The goals are different. For me, at that time, I actually didn't have like a big goal. I was just thinking, I need to get me some more dough on the table, right? Now, why did I sell them? My next couple of deals, I tested the fact that with similar spend, or if I double up my spend, right, I can get deals that cash flow 5 grand. I tested other deals as I was growing, so I continued doing more deals. As I was growing, I also realized that I can do deals with 1 million rand. I could easily get 10 grand out as a cash flow. Then I looked at this deal, I was like, oh, hold on. On a 2-bed 1-bath, if I am lucky, I can potentially get some cash flow, but my cash flow is low. Okay. But if I was not looking hard and not having all the relationships that I was building, I actually realized that the properties that I would get on the market, my cash flow was 0, which also gave me the thinking that the 2 beds 1 bath was not a good strategy, because potentially my cash flow was anything from very low to minus. Bearing in mind that when we had started off just doing property without doing it the right way, we also had, like my wife and I, we also had a 2 bed 1 bath here and there, but none of them were cash flowing. We were subsidizing the bank, right? Okay, so I want to speak to the fact that it was a self-realization when we went in on this particular deal, and then I realized that if I'm to spend more time onto these deals, my cash flow is nothing minus to very low. At the peak, it will be very low, which had a direct impact now on my growth of my portfolio because I wanted to do this very seriously. So if I continued buying like this, which meant that my growth would be very, very small. Starting off from a beginner perspective, this is the dream. It like this is the best deal ever, right? Which taught me a whole lot of things as I went into my journey. So from a starting off perspective, it's great. But as I start now moving on to the Dow, hey, by the way, Robert Kiyosaki started off in a 2-bed, 1-bath, just like mine. So me and him, we got something in common. Yeah, right. But that's not the point. The point is we need to start somewhere. And what is the starting point? If you start small, you learn fast, then grow fast. Right? That's always my motto. Learn, start small, learn fast, and grow fast. Right. So with that, I also realized that if I had stayed alone, and this is the biggest danger why I actually sold off my 2-bed. So I spoke about from a growing perspective there, right? It meant that my money that was in that deal was not really saving me, right? But I want to spin the story a little bit at the end of my video with what I now know now, all right? But I want to speak to the point where I had my only 2-bed, 1-bath, the only one that I had. And at that time I was calling it an investment. I actually realized that I was at a serious disadvantage. And if you disagree with me, you can drop in some comments. But the disadvantage that I realized was that if the tenant in that unit did not pay me, I was at 100% loss of income. That is bad from an investment. So I'm not getting any money. I now need to actually cough out monies, right? I also realized that it is extremely, and I express the word extremely, it's extremely difficult to find profitable units like those ones, 2-bed, 1-bath. It's extremely difficult. Even though we've got plenty of 2-beds around, I mean, how many complexes do you see around? A whole lot, isn't it? But it's extremely difficult to find them, right? So with those 2 points, I now go back and I'm like, okay, what is my strategy here? I want to grow my cash flow. I want to grow my portfolio. Is this saving me? And I realized the answer was no. And I then said, I think I need to sell this property. But like I did mention, I want to spin this around, okay? So this particular property, we bought it cash. And as we bought it cash, with what I know now, I am going to give you a teaser and say to you that had I known what I now know today, and this is the bomb, right? This is the bomb, it's coming. Watch out. Had I known what I know now today, we bought it cash, right? What I should have done, I should have not sold the property. Tired. TJ, Taurai, you're confusing us now in this video. No. That's what they call learning. So the more you learn, the more you adapt to different strategies. Right. So with what I knew, then I sold the cash cow. With what I know now, I would have never sold it. Why? Because I bought it cash for 210. 160, 50,000 for renovation. What I would have done is immediately after I had a tenant in there, I would have gone to the bank now and I would have financed the property. I know a lot of you might not get this. It took me a while as well to get it. But if you don't, just drop me a comment, say, TJ, what do you mean by financing? It's called refinancing. That's what it's called. Most banks have that product, actually. Okay? So you have a value, you have a particular value in your property, and all you're going into the bank and you say, the bank, can I extract this value in my property? And the bank will give you what your property is worth. Having said that, I could have just extracted 210, which meant that in my deal, in this particular 2-bed 1-bath, I will have zero money of my own. Boom. Once you've got zero amount of money in a deal, like, what's the return? What is the return? The return is infinity. That's what they call infinite returns. I am going to do another video around this one about explaining infinity returns, but I've just teased you a little bit to explain it here. So we bought it for 160, we renovated for 50, 210 is all in, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bank and say, the bank, can you bond this property for me? They do, but I don't take out the entire full value. Bearing in mind the full value is sitting around about just below 500. We actually sold this property for 450. So the bank was actually happy to fund 450 of it. What if I just pulled out the 210? That's what I'm talking about. That's what that's called infinity returns. Hey, it is TJ. I am hoping that you have enjoyed this. Again, I want to remind you the fact that if you haven't subscribed, that's the point that you need to subscribe, because we can get to many people about talking about these things. I love talking about this. And if you're one of those people who are wanting to learn a little bit more, we've got the school called M5 Property Varsity, and that's where you can learn to do cool stuff like I'm doing. And over and above, if you're one of those people who are saying, hey, TJ, this is too complicated for me, but I want to be in the game and I have cash available, again, you can talk to me in the link below. Drop me an email in the link below. You can click a link about investing, and you can invest alongside me and my business called M5 Property Addicts, and we can get some money on the table for you and I. Hey, it is TJ. We'll check you out later. God bless. Goodbye.